As of now, we are not initialized driver equals Chrome driver. Okay, that is missing. So driver equals a new Chrome. I want to simply say driver equals new Chrome driver and just execute again the Selenium implementation. So it should open. Starting from driver, it opens and it should enter your URL here. Okay, so done. So this is we just open. Now I wanted to close this after this. So I said driver dot close. So now I said I wanted to find out. I wanted to find out the username, password, and confirm password. Let's say driver dot find element by dot name, and it has, I guess, the name username, where I wanted to send something, that is send keys my name. Okay, same way I wanted to enter the password, driver dot find element dot name, and I guess it was the password, and I said same keys password. Same way we just copy this and we said confirm password or something. I'm also not sure. We'll just check that one more time. Out of that, so it's a confirm password. Okay, and then I wanted to click on driver dot find element, this time by dot link text, and my link text name is login capital dot. Okay, so let's say if this should execute the same action which we are talking about. So I execute this. So before every test case, it should open the Chrome browser, and after finishing my work, it should close that Chrome browser. This is what we were looking for right now. So let's say, okay, it enters user password, click login, and done. So now this is my basic. Now let's consider I have two test cases of the same name. So I said here a home test case. Okay, I'll not change any other things, but I wanted to show you how this before method and how this after method works. So let's run this code again. So this time your browser should open 2 times and it should perform the action, similar action for the 2 times. It's taking a bit time. Just give me a second. It's opening. So it opens first time. It will do all the operation which we say. Okay, and the same test case probably it should open for the next times. Yes, the second time, and it do the same actions here as well. Okay, so this time it works on all other things, 2 test cases, but before method and before test. Now I've simply changed this before method to before test. Let's see what happened. Okay, I just wanted to import this. I wanted to test. Okay, and I wanted to import that too. I don't want to do any other changes. I simply wanted to change before method to before test. I simply change after method to after test. Before method will execute before each at test. After method will execute after each at test. Before test will execute only once before all at test. So let's try this too. Okay, so it should open once, It opens the browser. This is my first execution. It opens again, and my second execution on the same browser. So it performs all the operation on the same browser. Two test cases execute on the same browser. This is how people may ask you question in interview. These are the difference between these things. Now, important thing is now we are jumping on the attributes, the TestNG attributes. So I'm going to create a new TestNG attribute package. Okay. I'm going to create a new class now. Still, we don't have any other thing. Attribute class. Okay. If there is no before method, after method, still it's okay for me. So let's say this is my test case 1. So now, what is this test case 1 is doing? We don't know. So in TestNG, there is additional benefit, like if you want, you can do this. So always people are saying, I wanted to do this test case is to log in into application. Okay, this test case is to log in into application. Always, whenever you write any of the test automation code, your reviewer, your architect, anyone, they are looking for the good comments, good description. For every test case, it should be very clear, like what this test case is doing. So this test case is to log in into application. You can mention your application name. It's more clearer. I just mentioned login into application. But your description is an attribute which work with @test annotation. Okay. Your description is an attribute which work with your @test annotation. Description tell you what is this exactly the test case is doing. So you can mention in this way. This is how we can mention. Now, when I said comment is not this. Comment is, you can mention your comment here. This test case for login into Selenium utility site. Now I said if there is some input parameter, I said there is a param. The param is your parameter, and it says parameter is int, and I said string, for example. Okay. Now next I said, and there is a results. Okay. The result is string, or I can say result, or sometimes a return. Okay. So return is string. So this method is returning string. In this way, you can mention your comments to any of your method, test case, or somewhere. Okay. So forget it. This comment will not execute. So I'll just keep it as it is. Now I said this test case is doing or login into application. So whenever we can execute this test case, so anyone, any of your code reviewer, any of the new person who wanted to work on your test cases, they can understand this test case very clearly. Okay, so this is my attribute says, this is my description. This is my first attribute. Now I'm going to show you my second attribute. Okay, priority attribute. Okay. Now in the priority attribute, what happened? Let's say most of the time people may ask you the question. Let's say I have test case 1, 2, 3, and I have 4. People may ask you the question, what is the execution priority of this test cases? So always with the order, ascending order, this will execute first, this will execute second, will execute third, this will execute fourth. This is always happens. But now let's say I'm changing this test case's name. Let's say this test case name is login. This test case name is compose. This test case name is send, and this test case name is logout, for example. So if you can see in order, definitely first test case will execute is your compose, because it starts from C, this starts from L. Okay, so compose will execute first, but before compose we need a login. If you are not logged in and you directly start to work on the compose, definitely this test case may fail. This will definitely fail. Then next test case will execute is my login. If so, login, this will pass definitely. Then log out again, this will pass because after login it will execute. But again, the next test case is my send. If I wanted to send something, but I am already logged out, so this test is also failed. So this is how the test case order we wanted to define now. Okay. So if I can say these are my test cases, but I wanted to execute in this way. So I wanted to do another attribute here, that is my priority. If I say my priority 1, then I said this is my priority 2. Okay, before that, if you want, I can execute this test cases, then only we can set up this. Okay. So it is for you to understand. Okay, in login, in compose, in send, and log. Okay. So if I execute this, let's say, what is the execution hierarchy of this? So priority attributes should run, and this is how it executes. Okay, I remove this @test from here. Just 1 minute. See what happened. I remove the @test. So what happened in my console? If you can see, I have executed only 2 test cases. One that is logout, another one that is send. It was not executed my both the test cases which don't have the @test annotation. So it will treat as a basic, just a function. Okay. So I repeat again, and this time I run this TestNG class. Let's see the output. Okay. So you can see compose execute first, then login, then logout, and then send. This is how the execution priority. Now, if I wanted to change this to the actual priority, I said I want this, that is a priority 1. Okay. I said this one is my priority 2. Then I said priority 3, and I said priority 4. So I said this one execute first, second, third, and fourth. The logout is 4. Let's execute this and we'll see. Now I'll ask one question, which is most of the time we ask in interview. Okay, the people may ask you the question. If you want, you can write down your answers into the comment section here. So let's say I remove all these test cases now. I want the answer from each one of you if you wanted to try. Okay, so let's say I have a test. I said public void receiver. And I said I can set the priority here. Can I set the negative priority is a question? Answer is yes. Okay, same way. Don't have anything. We just mention this. Let's say I have 6 test cases. 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Let's say my first test case priority is -4. Second one is 0. Okay. Or we can say this one is we don't want to set the priority to second test case. Let's say this one is 0, then 1, okay, then 6, Okay, I can set anything. Let's say I wanted to set 100 to this. Still it is possible. Okay, but always it's suggested this should be in a sequential order. Do not use minus and all those people are always said. But I just wanted to ask you the question. Now, can you tell me which one execute first, which one execute next? You can paste your answer here. I wanted to see the answers. Okay, just you can paste your answers on here the chat window. I'll definitely execute and show you the execution. So somebody says test case 1 is first.
No, -4, 0, 1, 6, and 100.
-4 first will execute.
Okay.
-4.
Okay. Guys, you can just paste it here. Okay, I can see the answer: -4, 0, then 1, then 6, then 6, and then 100, and then test case 2, the final. Okay, somebody Akshay says 0 will first. Okay, somebody says Ravi Kumar says -4, then default, that is test case 2, then 0, 1, 6, and 100. Okay, okay, test case 1. Then 3, 4, and 2 last. Somebody says last. Okay. VS, okay, not knows the name, but yes, he said -4 TC2 0 1 600 TC2 will execute first. Somebody Lalit Kumar says
priority will execute first, and
okay,
then 0 and then positive integer.
Perfect, perfect. So you said where we have the priority first, it will execute first, right? So you can try this at your side. Okay. Also, once you execute, you'll came to know the answer because see what happened, the answer. Can you see that? If you can see, TC2 will execute second. Why? Because what TestNG says, okay, this is interview question. Okay, I'll show you one more time. So sorry if it goes. Okay, see what happened first. First test case, that is my TC4, TC1. If you can see here, TC1 is my -4. All of you are agreed with this, which I know, but nobody was agreed on this except some of the people who mentioned this is your default test. It is correct. If you have the default test TC2, default test is having by default priority 0 always. Whatever is my default test where we don't mention any of the priority, by default it will treat or consider the priority as 0. That's happened. So now again I repeat, this was the default. Okay, so default, this was this TC2, TC3. So TC3 is 0. So what we thought, after -4 TC3 will execute, but not here. Again it is 0, it is a default, and when both the test cases are same, that time it will goes with the order. So TC2 comes before TC3, so that's why TC2 executes second, and then TC3, 4, 5, and 6. Okay, clear? Very simple, but this is a question in interview. Okay, so this is how the priority is defined. So now people may ask you the question, can we make a multiple test case as a priority 0? If you wanted to make that multiple test cases as a priority 0, then what is the use of priority? Okay, so you can, but don't mention multiple test cases with the same priority order. Okay, so priority will help you to set the execution order. Priority will help you to set the execution order.
But what if we mention two priorities as a 0, then which will execute first?
Okay, guys, you can answer your okay, so you can ask your question on chat, definitely. Okay, so that time it will take the order of your test case, the function, the test case function
Test will run
order.
first.
Okay, so TC2 will execute first, TC3 will execute second, because TC and then your order 2 and then 3. Okay, so that's why this will execute first, always. Clear? Okay, now I'll go with the another attribute. So I'm going to create another TestNG class. I'm going to create a new test class. The class is performance, for example. Okay, I simply say performance attribute. Performance attribute. What happened in the manual? Sometimes you also gone through with this scenario. So let's say your manager comes and he asks you, I want the readings of a same page. Let's say we go back to our this page. Our manager comes and say, I want to do the reading of this page. Let's say I load first time, it takes 3 seconds. I load second time, it takes 5 seconds, then 1 second, then 500 milliseconds, and likewise. I want the sample of execution 10 times. That means I want to execute the same test case 10 times. I want to execute the same test case 10 times using a particular attribute. I'll explain you that attribute as well. Okay, so it says I want to execute the same for 10 times. Let's go back there. If I have the same test case, that is my login. Okay, login test case, and I wanted to run this test case 10 times. Login. So if these are my steps, for example, these are my steps. So what we'll do most of the time, people will do? People will write for int I equals 0, then I is less than or equals to 10, and then I plus plus. Okay, so let's say I make it this one. I want to execute 10 times, and I said okay. This is what I can see. All my steps will execute 10 times, but this is not the right way. So in TestNG there is a attributes. In TestNG there is an attribute which helps you to execute this. Again, attributes work with your @test class. Okay, so it is nothing but my invocation count. If I said invocation count 10, that means this test case will execute 10 times. The same test case will execute 10 times is what my invocation count attribute says. Invocation count attribute will help you to perform the similar test cases and similar steps for the multiple number of times. So if I can execute this test, you can see the output, how many times these test cases will execute. So I go back, see how many times this test execute. This test will execute 10 times. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 5, 10. The same test case execute 10 times. And if you can go back and see the TestNG widget, so I'll go back and show the TestNG results widget. Here you can see how many test cases we executed. We executed 10 test cases. We executed how many fails? 0. How many? So we from one class we executed 10 methods. This is how it works.